Welcome back to the Derek Loudermilk Show. This is part 3 in the 5 levels of abundance, and today we're going to talk about giving and receiving. And remember, our definition that we're working with of abundance is being able to do what you need to do when you need to do it. So let's say before you were thinking, oh, I need to save up a bunch of money to buy a car. Well, if someone just gave you a car, then you wouldn't need the money at all. So receiving gifts and giving gifts is a major factor of abundance. People often overlook because it's so simple and straightforward. And when we talk about giving and receiving, think of this like an electrical circuit. Actually, you can think of money in the same way, because fundamentally the building blocks of our entire universe are electromagnetics, are fields. When you're thinking about quantum mechanics, even the physical matter, right? But also money and gifts and all these things are fundamentally powered by the same thing, our fields and intentions. And so because this is a circuit, because this is a cycle, if you're not experiencing as much abundance as you want to be in life, it's either because you're not putting enough in, you're not giving enough into the circuit to power the circuit, or you're not able to receive out of the circuit. So you're cramping the flow of electricity. You're causing some resistance somewhere. So some people are not good givers. They're what can be considered a taker, but a lot of people fall in the category of a matcher, and they're trying to do this tit for tat. When they receive something, they do something for others, or when they do something for others, they sort of expect a reciprocity in return. So a lot of people fall into the category of matchers, and that's kind of how I used to operate personally as well, until I trained myself, till I learned the research of being a giver and trained myself to actually become more of a giver. Now, when you're putting more into the system, when you're putting more energy into the system, you're building up the system as a whole, and it encourages other people to build up that same system. There's a network effect. And so when you need to apply the energy in the system to actually get something done, right? To get a car, to move something in the world, to make something happen, right? Abundance, then there's plenty to go around, and you can divert that energy and direct it towards your purpose. And that's where the receiving comes in. So you can train both the giving and the receiving aspect of this cycle. So I learned about shifting from being a matcher to being a giver, largely from Adam Grant's work, Give and Take, and he proves that people who are natural givers have way more success and abundance in life. And he talks about this concept of the 5-minute favor, which is a sort of a low-cost thing that you can do to help somebody else. So examples of this might be introducing people in your network, leaving a review for someone's podcast or book, giving someone ideas that could help their business or help their relationships, listening to people and giving them feedback. You could even just compliment people, acknowledging them for something they've made an impact in your life. There's a lot of very inexpensive and straightforward ways that you can give to people. I'll just mention another book that's quite popular, The Go-Giver, which is a great sort of parable, a story about how exactly when you're giving and you're putting energy into the systems, it increases your rate of previous abundance episode, increases your rate of positive synchronicities happening as well. So what about when you want to give and your intention is to give, but it doesn't feel clean? Like the other day I had this experience of someone asking me for change while I was waiting in line to go into this office. And I had money in my wallet, but all of a sudden, I didn't want to give this person anything. Partly it was their vibe, partly I was being put on a spot when I was just trying to peacefully wait by myself. And so I'm not going to give to somebody when it doesn't feel clean. When I'm not able to give open-heartedly, then, that energy, that money, that favor, whatever it is that I'm passing on is going to come with this sort of reluctance or ickiness attached to it. So when you're giving, make sure you're in the state that you want to be. Make sure that the giving feels clean and it's done on your terms, because you should never be sort of forced into giving. Now, on the other hand, I've had this experience, and you may also have this experience of you do really want to give, but you're not feeling abundant at the time. And this is a good time to shift into gratitude, because when you're feeling constricted, right? If you feel like if you give, it's going to reduce your overall ability to do what you need to do when you need to do it. Realize, right, now that we're talking about these 5 levels of abundance, even if you're giving money or time or favors or possessions or any of these things, realize that there's so many different ways that can come back to you. It doesn't have to come back to you in the same form. So if you give money, you might get a favor in terms of, somebody taking you to the airport next week, right? It's not an in-kind thing. It's not that the money energy you put into the system comes back as a return on your investment in dollars, but it comes back in some other way to help you do what you need to do when you need to do it. Now, there are a lot of you that are already really great givers and you have no trouble being a giver. And the thing that you need to train is the receiving end. So a couple of ways that you could do this. If you feel like the receiving cleanly is what's holding you down, holding you back from abundance, if that's what's resistance in your circuit, then you can practice, for example, receiving compliments without returning them. Now, this can be really hard, and we're naturally sort of, hey, I like your shirt. Oh, I like your shoes. You find something else to compliment about them. And it actually, when you study charisma, very charismatic people know how to politely receive a compliment. So imagine you saw a play on Broadway and you ran into the actor backstage or leaving the theater, and you said, wow, what an amazing performance. That was really incredible. Love the show. And they were like, wow, thank you so much for coming. They have this ability to receive the compliment without needing to return it. And it's a very charismatic and solid place to be. So you can practice that. You can practice receiving compliments without replying, without immediately giving a compliment back. Now, if you want to give a compliment back later, let it land for a few seconds. Fully integrate the compliment and understand that they are giving you this compliment, and spend a few seconds feeling the gratitude of having received that compliment before you need to turn around and give one back. You can also, this applies to anytime someone is doing a service for you. Like I experienced it last week when we went to Chicago. We took the train up there, the Amtrak, and there were various times when it was like the taxi driver or a porter at the train station or somebody helping to lift my bag somewhere onto the train, into the trunk, out of the trunk, whatever it was. And of course, I can lift my own bag, right? I've been all over the world. I can pick up a small bag. But allowing somebody who is in a position to serve, allowing them to do that and receiving it with gratitude will help train you to be able to receive. So that's just another way of, again, training this muscle of receiving. You could go get a massage. You could let somebody help you out without feeling awkward about it. Make sure you're, when you're giving cleanly and receiving cleanly. All right, and I'm jumping around here. I just remembered some more things that I thought of on the giving side of things. So one thing that I really like to do when it comes to giving gifts or thinking about being a giver is to really think about people's love language. Obviously, one of the love languages is gifts, giving and receiving. There's quality time, there's physical touch, there's acts of service. There's different ways that you can give to people. So if you can figure out exactly what their sort of 1 or 2 major love languages are, you can give to them in different categories, right? So different people in your family, different coworkers or customers, clients might like to receive in different ways. So you can give very specific to their love languages. And when it comes to physical gifts, in the book Stumbling Upon Happiness, he talks about how people end up being much happier when you give them the gift that they're asking for. Now, it's really fun as a gift giver at Christmas time or birthdays to find something totally unique and unexpected and give it to them. And sometimes those are big hits, but sometimes they're not. And the person ends up not using the thing or, just passing it on to someone else. And it's not a great gift. So what I kind of like to do is generally I'll have people in my family, people that I'm giving gifts to, come up with a list of 10 things that they might want. And then within that, it gives me the freedom to say, ooh, I really want to get you this new pair of shoes, but I'm going to pick the sort of the style or the the category or the color or whatever it is. So I have some creative agency in picking the gift, but I'm falling within their constraints. So I know I'm getting them something they're really going to be happy with. And that's just sort of a hack to increase sort of the known value of happiness when you're giving a physical gift. Another frame to approach this is sometimes I use the prompt, who can I surprise today? Or how can I surprise so-and-so? How can I surprise one of my clients? Or how can I surprise my wife? The other day, Heidi, my wife, she was sort of musing out loud about she wished someone would make her cookies because she's usually the one doing more of the cooking and baking cookies. And it was already kind of late and I know she wanted cookies, but we didn't really have time at the end of the day after putting the kids to bed to actually make cookies. And so I just sort of snuck out really quick around the corner to this cookie shop, which actually sells warm, fresh cookies. And I brought her some. And so, that was totally sort of an unexpected thing. And because I was operating with the framework of, how can I sort of make a positive surprise for someone, it just happened, right? A gift of cookie was what came up as the solution there. And the thing with giving and also receiving, when you are approaching it with the how can I surprise somebody, or when you're actually sort of planning time to think of gifts for people or planning ways that you can give simply, if you're just referring back to your list of 5-minute favors, you're going to set yourself apart from 95% of the people. So this is actually really great for business. I know people who have built their entire business on giving really cool, really unique gifts, because that puts you in the very top of someone's mind when you send, Star Wars figurines to somebody, or, you send them a hand-drawn cartoon or something totally unexpected. That sticks out for people. So again, when you're an entrepreneur and you're looking for ways to get an edge, sometimes it can be in the giving and receiving phase, especially when you can do something unexpected. Now, another part of this is to train yourself to be able to ask for what you want. And I might have mentioned this in another one of the episodes, but perhaps my favorite Bible quote, I actually don't really know many Bible quotes, but ask and ye shall receive. And I think about this all the time because so often I'm not, and we're not actually asking for what we want because we just sort of expect that it's not available, or it's too complicated, or somebody wouldn't want to give it to us, or it's just going to be a pain, or all these things. And so when you say, okay, well, what if I just ask? What if I, pick someone that I thought could help, and I just told them what I was trying to do, and I just asked. And I'll keep coming back to this because it's such a fantastic example. But we just sold a house, and when we were thinking about selling it, we had it, and it was rented as an Airbnb. And we had these guests that came and sort of destroyed the place, broke some furniture, and left a bunch of trash, and it was a mess. And we thought, okay, let's sell the place. This is a big hassle. The market's good, so we want to sell the house. And the very first thing we did was we talked to our friend who's a realtor and said, here's what we're trying to do. We're trying to sell the house, ideally for a profit because the market's hot. And do you know any buyers? Do you know any investors? What do you think we should do? Can you give us some advice, or can you give us an introduction to the right person that can help us? If or do you want to list it and try to help us sell it? And this ended up being the quickest, simplest, most painless, most profitable house sale I think it's possible to experience. We just had a single conversation. She introduced us to someone who had connections with many investors. We had a single conversation with him. He connected us with an investor who was ready to buy, in the sort of I'm always looking to buy state. And we sort of set the price. We said, here's what we want to make. And we told him, and he agreed. All the numbers fit, and the sale closed, as soon as it could. And our realtor, she was just blown away because we set out exactly all the things that we wanted, and we asked for it, and we got everything that we wanted. And it just kind of blew her away that it could be that easy. But I think it's because most people wouldn't bother to ask because they're constrained by their own thinking, or by thinking it's not reasonable to ask something, or just not expecting to get what they're asking for. So the other thing you can do when it comes to having more abundance around giving and receiving is train yourself to actually ask for what you want. Even if you're not totally sure you're going to get it, or even if you're doubting yourself, or even if it feels like a really big ask, because chances are that will open some doors. Even if you don't get it directly, you might have not considered other avenues. And then you get into getting better information, better ideas about how you can, again, do what you need to do when you need to do it. All right, so your key takeaway today is to think of giving and receiving as a circuit, and you want to keep putting more energy into the system to power it up, to direct it where you need to go, to do what you need to do when you need to do it. And if you're not getting the abundance you want, you need to look at whether you're slowing things down on the receiving end or on the giving end, and then actively train yourself to get better at giving or receiving. All right, that's all for this week. Next part in this series, we're going to talk about the power of barter and trade to be able to do what you need to do when you need to do it.